Yo, hello again. Welcome to another edition of Ralph Reads Raw. It's your boy, rather grown man, Ralph Anthony Garcia, also known as R4. The legal, the loyal, the regal, the royal, Ronin Ralph, your master of ceremonies. And you know we're about to read some more. But before I do that, I got to give a shout out to the pack who keeps me, very much alive here on the United Ronin Networks. So let's look them up real quick and say what up to the shareholders. Let's get it, says 704 Liquor House Talk Network. Salute again, my guy. Welcome again, neighbor. Let's go. Big shout to Sweet D. I've been a healer. Maria da Silva. J Knox SG, CEO. Cynthia Chadwick Rucker. Alasia Ross. Estanislava Cardona. Monster, Lost Roads, Keith Woods, Seas All the Time, K-Town, Trey Noel, Janie Pearson, Just Being Kiki, Toedi, Sherelle 5150, Tequila Green, CJ, Mr. Light, J Bobo, Goose Jack, that's Juan Manuel, Lady Rain 808, The Fort, Pretty Ricky 22, Desmond Thomas, Dario Carrington, Marcus Valentine, Kala Isla, BLE 007, Michael Woodford, Pat Master OST, Anthony Leach, Calm, Nana James, Tama, Full Time, Brian Lathan, Mr. T, John Logic and Friends, and Demon Wolf 570. Now, excuse me, but I did run through that list kind of quick, but I want to get things going. Let's go. Chapter 15. The funeral was what one would call a crowded affair. Earl watched from a darkened doorway across the street from the funeral parlor. He knew the police would be there, waiting and watching for him, and he had no desire to answer their probing questions. When the casket came out, the people flowed out of the building behind it. They poured into the street to fill the waiting cars. Cadillacs stood bumper to bumper as all the nightlife crowd turned out to show their respect. Earl had to walk for almost 2 blocks to find Billy's Cadillac parked at the end of the funeral procession. Billy arrived soon after with his lady, Sandra, in tow. The frail, dark complexion prostitute had been crying. Her eyes were red. I wonder where you were hiding, Earl, Billy said as he slid under the steering wheel. It took half an hour before the long funeral could get underway. The three rode in silence until Sandra finally said, I had to pause for the cause elements outside. That preacher sure had a lot to say. He preached a good sermon of her. Billy snorted and poured a paper cup full of whiskey. He passed a drink over the seat to Earl, then poured himself one. The only thing I could find wrong with the fucking preacher was the fact that the bastard talked too goddamn much. You nigger men, Sandra said disgustedly. You're really something else. Maybe he Maybe he didn't have to say nothing about her working the streets, but the rest of the stuff he preached was all right. The procession moved slowly. Billy managed to get his Cadillac in behind Carl's. That crap that preacher said about hustling don't mean shit, he remarked. Half the fucking church was full of whores, and the other half was full of pimps. How did her mother take it? Earl asked quietly, his mood still somber. Billy laughed coldly. Right on cue. She performed the pretending bitch. Wherever the preacher lightened up to catch his wind, she will fill in the slack. For a minute there, I thought maybe her and the preacher had a thing going on. I told you, Sandra stated loudly, you niggas ain't shit. I can't understand why a whore would want to give one of you her money. She turned her back and stared out of the window as if she weren't a whore. After they get her in the ground, Earl, everybody that's cool is meeting over the calls, Billy said, then added, that's the last party for the departed. We party all night, then in the morning, everybody keeps right on stepping. Keep on stepping, Earl repeated. The phrase stuck with him. For the past 3 days, all he had managed to do was stay drunk. Ike, Carl, even dope fiend Pat, they all had stopped by and told him the same thing. Keep on stepping. He knew he had to do something. He couldn't keep on going the way he'd been going. He couldn't keep going the way he'd been traveling, drinking all night until he fell across his bed in the mornings, dead drunk. The stop at the cemetery turned out to be a very sad affair indeed. It was heartbreaking. Most of the prostitutes who gathered there broke down and cried loudly. They felt fear for the unknown. This was a danger that moved close to their lives. Their friend and companion had been trapped by this vile evil. Each one promised herself that she would check her tricks more closely, and for the next week, every pimp with a girl in the streets would end up with short money as the fear continued to feed on their minds. Earl stayed in the car just to avoid running into Vicky's mother. He could see them lowering the casket. Into the ground. His chest exploded with pain. He rolled on the seat and fought to catch his breath. Deep, painful sobs choked him as they caught in his throat. He cried as no man wished to cry. He wondered how he could exist without her love. Without her love, the very thought of going back to his empty hotel room filled him with fear of the loneliness that awaited him. Sandra opened the car door and climbed into the back. She removed his tie for him so that he could breathe better. He started to tell her that nothing would help or could help. Billy watched as his woman tried to help Earl. He understood. He didn't think that he would break down if his woman died, but it brought tears to his eyes to watch them lower Vicky's casket into the ground and to realize that all that young life was gone, he felt truly sorry for Earl as he looked away. Earl tried to straighten up. He didn't want anyone to see his grief. "It's all right," he managed to say. "I can handle it." Sandra climbed back in the front, and they drove slowly out of the cemetery. The ride back to the city was much faster than when they came out. Billy followed Carl back. Every time he looked in his mirror, he would see. Every time he looked in his mirror, he would see a line of cat. Every time he looked in his mirror, he would see a line of caddies in behind him. Carl's party started slowly. The memory of death still lingered. Whiskey soon loosened everyone up, and they started swinging full blast. Around 4 in the morning, everyone was drunk, and half of them had forgotten what the party was for. Couples began to drift out, heading for their favorite motels. "Fuck it. Fuck it," Earl murmured as he staggered down the bar and sat down at a table with Pat and Carl. Charles and Tammy moved closer. Billy and Sandra got behind the bar and set out fresh drinks for everyone. Duke walked behind the bar and poured a water glass full of whiskey. He held the glass high for all to see. "I am not the host, but I say, let's have a toast." He glanced up and down the bar. Everyone lifted glasses in response. "This is to a brown-skilled mole. This is to a brown-skilled ma who looked like a China doll when she worked on the street of sin." Wait, let me do this better. "This is to a brown-skinned ma who looked like a China doll when she worked on the street of sin. Up and down she pried, with a wink and a nod, as she steered a trick to the nearest whorehouse den." Glasses were emptied, and Sandra quickly refilled them. Carl grabbed the water glass and held it high. Silence fell as he took up where Duke had left off. "She was a top-notch broad, a pro and a fraud, and stuff. She played like a vet. Why, many a man that we all know can refuse to lay her a bet." Charles dropped his head to the bar, knocking over a glass. "I'm sure glad I ain't got to drive," he mumbled. "'Cause if you all keep drinking, anytime somebody toasts, somebody gonna get too drunk to go home." He pointed at the water glass. "Fill it up for me, Sandra." He waited until she brought him the drink, then raised the glass unsteadily and began. "Here's to a good whore that we all used to know. We sent her away in style. So when I go to the same door, line the caddies up." Wait, let me say that better. Here's to a good whore. Here's to a good hoe that we all used to know. We sent her away in style, so when I go... Wait. Here's to a good hoe that we all used to know. We sent her away in style. So when I go, through that same dough, line up the caddies up for a mile. Pat laughed loudly and drained her glass. That's all you pimps care about. Pockets full of money to blow and a pockets full of money to blow and a Cadillac. She pointed towards the water glass. Now I'm making a toast, and it's not a boast. I'm a dope fiend as well. I'm a dope fiend, as we all know. But I would have gave up my stuff if it had been long enough. But I would have gave up my stuff if it had been long enough. Wait. But I would have gave up my stuff if it had been enough to prevent such a blow. Duke, Duke, uh, Duke, Billy yelled drunkenly. I don't know why you started this shit. Last time we did it at Pharaoh's Wake, damn near everybody ended up falling out. Ignoring his own prediction, Billy filled the water glass, which was gaily accepted as the speaker's drinking glass. If you couldn't handle a water glass full of whiskey, you couldn't take your turn as a toaster. Billy slammed the glass down with a bang and began. How she would follow the almighty dollar, in hell she would even explore. And sit there waiting to trick with old Satan. Now that was a money-making whore. Sandra took her turn quickly. She was basically a deep-rooted religious woman. Actually, she would have felt better saying a prayer, but instead, she said a toast. The jungle creed says the strong must feed on any prey at hand. So branded as beast, Vicky sat down at feast and learned that her prey was man. A few of the lesser-known young pimps sat around at the tables with their ladies. They knew that they would be out of place if they reached for the water glass, so they watched and listened in silence. One of Carl's barmaids kept the tables well supplied with fresh drinks. Charles twisted around and stared at his woman. Tammy shook her head, declining. She had only met Vicky twice, and she didn't know what to say. This was the first time she had ever seen anyone do this after a funeral. Nobody asked for the glass. Billy refilled it and faced the crowd, holding the glass outward. He slowly turned towards Earl and slammed the glass down in front of him. Everyone's eyes followed the move. Earl's voice was low as he spoke, causing everyone to lean forward in an attempt to catch his words. Anything I say will be inadequate, but I will try, inept as I am, he stated, as he slowly ran his fingers around the glass. There was no track known to be too fast for this lady of the night, nor was there a whore who could sting for more than Vicky when her fingers were right. Sun, snow, or hail, to her were the same, even the jail. She called part of the game. And here we all sit with tears in our eyes, desperately trying to say our goodbyes. Okay, let me say this a little better. There was no track known to be too fast for this lady of the night, nor was there a whore who could sting for more than Vicky when her fingers were right. Sun, snow, or hail, to her were the same. Even the jail she called part of the game. And here we all sit with tears in our eyes, desperately trying to say our goodbyes. But if Vicky would hear, she'd say, dry up those tears, for another good whore's gone to meet all her peers. Earl drained the glass and shattered it against the wall. That's one I owe you, Call, he said, and staggered out the door. Bars. Way back in when? Wow. 1973. So modern. So ahead of its time. 51 years? 52 years? Are you kidding me? Alright, let me take a pause for the cause just because I want to show off my shirt. You see it. Please believe it. Yo, says my bro, Jah Logic. Yes, I'm glad you're here. 704 Liquor House. I'm glad you're here with me too. Let's go, folks. We're in the house. Now, my Gaza. Yes, sir. I'm in the house. Yo, I got shirts, I got hoodies, right? Or I can send out for, you know, I got long shirts too, you know, really nice stuff, man. It fits nice. It ain't that old bright stuff you see under the light. It's legit, you know. It's dope. Look, check it out, check it out. See, I'm gonna pick mines up, says Jah Logic and friends. Okay, it's been too long. It certainly has, my G. But it's cool. Damn scamdemic. Agreed. But we all survived beautifully, I like to think. But folks, thank you for taking the time to be with me. And let's continue. Jah Logic and friends says, we here. Yes, we are, brother. That's what counts. I love you, baby bro. And of course, the Ranters Union. I need y'all to always check them out. Alright then? Because on these YouTube streets that are unfriendly, we're family. So getting back to the story, let's go. Hope it ain't too gory. Chapter 16. The next few weeks passed slowly and uneventfully for Earl. His bankroll was dwindling and nothing was coming in. As he drove slowly down the street, he decided to stop and check out a young girl he had been wasting some time on. He pulled in front of a restaurant. That he had begun patronizing and parked. He stared at the door to the place with indecision. He knew that he needed fresh money, and the waitress he was talking to didn't believe in giving up any money. Not yet, he reminded himself as he got out. He entered and walked over to a table. The restaurant was small but neat. Its biggest clientele seemed to be the high school kids that came by daily. A young girl about 15 dropped some change in the jukebox, and the latest soul tune came screaming out. She danced across the floor, stopped, and winked at Earl, then continued on to her table and friends. Earl ignored her and beckoned for the waitress. She came on the run, twisting between the tables quickly. She smiled gaily at Earl. "Hi, honey," she said cheerfully as she reached his table. Slowly, with a measured gesture, he removed a cigarette pack from his inside pocket. He had started taking an interest in his appearance again. The dark green silk suit he wore made him look like a male model. The waitress giggled foolishly as she searched for a match. Earl waited patiently. His eyes boldly ran up and down her tight-fitting work dress. He studied her large legs. He studied her large legs so openly she blushed. Earl, don't look at me like that, she managed to say as she lit a match and leaned over. He ignored the burning match and stared down into her open blouse. The match, the match burned her finger and she dropped it with a little squeal. He broke into laughter and used his cigarette lighter. His voice dropped to a bedroom whisper. Don't look at you, huh? Don't look at you how, Brenda? Brenda was 5 foot with no inches to spare. Earl could just stare at her a certain way and she would blush. He stared at her again and she turned scarlet red. He reached out and grabbed her arm. Please, Earl, please, she begged while glancing around to see who was watching. She twisted back and slapped his hand. Stop, Earl. Don't do that. I know you like it, girl. You ain't got to put on with me, he said quietly. Her ears turned scarlet and she backed away from his intimate caress. What you want, man? I ain't got time to play. Earl became serious. Since you think I'm playing, send the other waitress over. Brenda studied him closely to see if he was serious. She didn't want the other girl to wait on Earl. She stepped back to the table and leaned against his arm. What you want, huh? I want some money, baby. Cash, Earl said lightly. Brenda laughed and put one hand on her hip. She was short but stacked. Everything was large for her size. She turned to fat later in life, Earl thought. All the money, all the money you carry around, Earl. I know you don't really need any of the small change I make. You drive a big Cadillac and wear almost as many diamonds as you want to. It was his turn to study her. He wondered momentarily if she was trying to be funny. The bitch is either dumb or not wrapped too tight, he thought. Listen, Brenda, I'm talking about your money, baby. You know you need a manager. She looked down at the floor. The other girls told me you was a pimp, Earl. Is that what you are? The only thing you have to concern yourself about, girl, is the fact that I am a man and you getting your action. Earl puffed on his cigarette for a brief moment, then added, I don't want to hear nothing about what somebody told you. I need some money, and I want you to have me some. She looked around nervously. I don't get paid till Thursday, Earl. She blushed, then looked away and added, you can have all of it except $10 if you need it. He asked curiously, what you need with $10? Your mother takes care of you, don't she? I have to pay rent at home, but I'll give you the rest of it, she said. But I'll give you the rest of it, she said quietly. Earl pushed the chair back and got up. He grabbed her in his arms before she could get away. The proprietor shook his head and Earl released her. I'll pick you up Thursday night. He bent and whispered in her ear. I might bust that cherry for you. He raised his voice. Be ready to give it up, baby. Earl, she uttered, then blushed a deep pink. She turned and fled towards the counter with Earl's laughter ringing in her ears. He walked out of the place smiling. It wasn't every day that he got a chance to It wasn't every day that he got a chance to pluck off a virgin and a paycheck too. He glanced at his watch. Billy had called that morning and set up an appointment. It had to be important because Billy wouldn't talk over the phone. That was a hell of a thing, he reasoned. People taking care of business these days wouldn't dare talk about it over the phone if they had any sense. Earl reached the meeting place 3 minutes early. He drove past and went around the block before making a U-turn. He drove slowly on the way back, catching the light on purpose. He checked his watch. 1 minute to go. The light changed and eased down on the gas pedal. When he reached the meeting place, he drove right up into the gas station. Billy was already there. The attendant was checking under his hood. Earl stopped at a pump and got out. Neither man greeted the other. Billy walked over towards the Coke machine. Earl looked around casually before walking towards the machine. Billy held a quarter towards the approaching Earl. "You got change, buddy?" He asked loudly. Removing a handful of change, Earl answered, "A pocketful, mister. What you want?" Billy put a dime into the machine and got a Coke. Big things going down tonight, he said quietly. "If you got some money, you could get down with me, Earl, and make yourself 4 times what your role is now." Earl put his hand into the machine and got out his Coke. "How much time have I got before you get down, man?" The gas station attendant closed Billy's hood and walked around to the back of the car. "I'll be at your place for the money in 2 hours. How much money, Earl, are you going to get down with?" Earl hesitated for a moment. "Put me down for 2 grand, Billy." Billy nodded and went back towards his car. Earl drove slowly on the way back to the heart of the city. He parked in front of a pawn shop. It's a pity, he reasoned, but it was the only way out of his tight. The diamonds had to go. Folks, I'm gonna pause for the cause right here and come back for it tomorrow. I'll come back tomorrow, I promise. Meanwhile, let me close this up. Pow. This is called Street Players. F. Okay. I'm gonna call it F. And save that project a couple times. You never know. Thank you for joining me, though. Thank you, bruv. That's what counts. Yes, this is my boy, my bruv, with a lot of love. The Ranchers Union and them Geologic and friends. Yeah, man. I'd like to thank y'all for taking the time and checking this out. Now, if I may be so bold, I want to share a couple stories. Oh, this shit's been on the whole time. Damn. Oh, well. I promise it won't be too noisy when I edit it. That's a shame. Fuck. Damn, you can see it too. Fuck. You know what? Alright. You know what? I'll deal with that later. That's okay. Some new shit. Alright, folks. I'm gonna take one of my Via rides across the bridge, you know, cause I'm doing quite okay for myself and stuff. But my guy, my guy Rocky wanted me to do a little Mexican joint down in Astoria, right, a little close, close to the, close to Astoria Projects. That's what this place was. Now, yeah, man, I know I'm always talking about Queens, but you have to understand something. As a bouncer, right, the most money I've ever made in New York was Queens. Second place, Brooklyn. And third place, of course, Manhattan. Then the Bronx. Then Staten Island. Believe it or not, I had stints in Staten Island. Right? But yeah, man, Queens get the money. That's some real shit. A lot of folks get money out there and make the rest of us money, if that makes any kind of sense. Now then, speaking of old beloved Queens, here I am working at this joint. I forget the address, but it's close to Astoria Projects. And the name of the place is Vaquero. It's noisy. Shut up. Annoying. While this is happening, let me just, you know, take a pause for the cause, just because. No, matter of fact, no. All right, it's gone. So then, all right. As I'm entering the place, I'm looking at it, El Vaquero. No, El Vaqueron. Not just El Vaquero, El Vaqueron, not this motherfucker. You understand? And big up to Rock for hooking me up with this job, man. This was around the time when, you know, I was going through my little homeless phase and stuff. And, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know, you take what you can get, and I was happy to get that job. I sure was. And I signed up as a fire guard to the place, which was okay. I didn't mind doing that. You know, I had to get my hands on the particular documents I needed to take back to the fire department to make sure my certification is right. And back then it was the F49. So I hope I got that right. I remember it's the F40, it's either the F43 or the F49, one of those. But anyways, as a fire guard all over there, I didn't exactly have my paperwork done just yet, but I still was working a couple nights. Bad move. Just remember, you do not want to get caught bouncing at any gig without a license, whether it's the New York State administered license or the fire guard card, you know, and depending on where you're working at or how your card is appearing, whatever type of class you might have, you may have to include where you're working on your card if you're working as a fire guard. Now, these days, for some odd reason, fire guards, when they get gigs, they get that little bit more just because they're fire guards. Meanwhile, security guards, per usual, we got to eat shit. Well, well, we take a place like El Vaqueron. I look at all the little tables they got there. They got about 9 tables. The place isn't very big. Standard size bar, but not many bottles of liquor to speak of on there, you know. It's just, for the most part, beer, beer, and more beer. We're talking Modelos, Coronas. You know, in some cases there are Budweisers and Heinekens, but for the most part, you already know it's going to be Modelos, Modelo all day, Modelo Negro, whatever, and then a couple copas, little tragos here and there. Cool. But I gotta say, it became one of those places that I just got sick of after a while because I hate to say it about my Mexican cousins. Some of them are just villains. You know, I know that's not all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? But the ones that are arch nemesis, oh boy, like this one guy. He was in there harassing all the waitresses, as I'd like to call them in there, you know. I mean, they offer you a dance as long as you tip them and all of that there. But this one guy, just because he's been tipping all night and getting woozy with it, he figured he can own one of these chicks. Now, some girls have that finesse of just, okay, let's let this nigga rock real quick, you know, he's harmless. But dude was getting rather aggressive, like that was actually his woman. She gave me that look. Come on. That look, we all know. So, I darted over there. My man, you've got to go. But, Bobby, please, first of all, I smell you. God, your breath is horrible. That's first of all. 2, you're too drunk. You got to go. I don't want to put my hand on you, I say to him in Spanish. Yo no te quiero tocar, pero tú tienes que largar. I don't want to touch you, but you gotta go. I don't want to touch you, but you gotta go, dude. You know? He's like, all right, all right, all right. And I'm, you know, following him towards the door. He goes through the first door, good enough. But then, before going through the second door, there he is in the fucking little cubby right there. You know, little vestibule and shit, little, whatever, little space right there, little trajectory, the little threshold right there, the little space between the indoor door and the outside door. There he was, kicking the hell out of my damn stool. My jacket falling off of it. Like, I don't know if I should have done this, but I went after him and I grabbed him by the neck. My man, give me your ID, bro. Yo, he was flailing and trying to fight off me, you know, but I had him well within my grip, had him, his feet dangling and all that, you know, that energy. I had him. You know what I'm saying? I saw his wallet, grabbed it, looked in it. ID, sure enough, was there. Now I know where you live. Now, if you don't get the fuck out of here, I'm gonna come after you. Boy, did he run. He ran so fast, I swear you saw the dust behind him. But that was pleasant enough. Meanwhile, the fact that I went after him, someone saw fit to fucking steal my jacket. I was tighter than a fucking virgin. okay? Tighter than a virgin who still got her hymen. I ain't lying. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Cause good Lord. And it was a fucking MC jacket. Yo, you can understand how tight I was. I'm punching the wall. Folks inside didn't notice because thank God the music be louder than thunder 3/4 of the time inside the place. Frustration was real, let me tell you. I'm looking at the people inside like, did you not see this motherfucker, whoever it was, who took my jacket? But of course, no one utters a word. Wouldn't even look my way. Fine. I finish out the night. But, you see, on this particular night, it didn't end well. Not at all. You see, I worked at El Vaqueron for the better of the month. Things were good. But you see, because I'd fucking forgot my goddamn card, my fire guard card, I fucking forgot it. How do you forget that? But I had it though, see? And I was exclusively working for El Vaqueron. The whole fucking address is on there too. On the card. And that's what I noticed, right? I mean, I wouldn't have given a fuck about it any time. I mean, as long as I had licenses, you know. This is way before I even got mine. This is the first time. I didn't have my license yet. But I did have my fire guard. Not on me, because I'm a doofus. These fucking cops want to come in. Storming in. Oh, you're the bouncer, aren't you? Yes, sir. I said with respect. May I see your license, please? Sadly, I had nothing to give him. So I knew right then to shut my fucking mouth. The more questions he asked, the less I said. After the cops storming into the place, I guess the guy I chased away might have called them on me. That's probably what happened, but, you know, you'd think these motherfuckers would have gone after the guy that stole my jacket, right? No, they're coming right to me. And after a while, I was in that paddy, you know, up in the paddy wagon. I mean, what the fuck? What are you gonna do? I'm getting arrested. I got put in handcuffs right in the back of their fucking van. The one initial fucking guy kept asking me questions. I says to the guy, yo, come on, you know better. I'm not saying anymore without a lawyer. I know what it is. I'm doing tonight. I'm spending the night tonight. So unless I got a fucking lawyer, shut the fuck up towards me right now. Oh, so you don't want to say nothing? No, I do not want to say nothing. All right? And have you even read my rights? Can you read them to me, please? I says. I swear to God. This dude was yapping all of this and that about how I need to tell him shit. I'm like, bruh, read me my fucking rights first. At the end of the day, you're going to read me mines. I ain't stupid. So, yeah, sure. Read them to me slowly. That's when he want to turn from a fast-talking motherfucker to... to a slow reader. All of a sudden, this is him talking now. Fuck you two. Alright, you want to respect my rights? You goddamn right I don't fucking ask you to give me 5 minutes and put your badge down and give me 5 minutes so I can bust your shit. You're lucky I don't ask for that. In the back of my mind, I'm wailing on his ass inside one of the fucking rooms in the precinct. Word. Going to Queens. We going to a fucking yeah. We going to Queens house. I go to the precinct first. Obviously, got to get booked there. But thankfully, it didn't last too long. They took us down to Queens Court. Fucking what was that? Queens Boulevard? Yeah, all the way down there, Queens Boulevard. I remember going there. I do. I remember the building, the big ass shits. The build, the buildings, or should I say, this huge building with the many exits and all of that, you know. But before hitting that courtroom, hitting their central booking was very interesting. And do I dare say, not for the faint at heart. First off, there was a gang of us in one tiny cell, but that's customary, no? Aren't we all who've been in jail used to that? No. When you look towards the toilet that doesn't work, you see guys begging folks, can we use an actual toilet that works? And we get denied, so we have to use the fucking broken toilet. Yo, make a podcast about jail, says K-Town. I agree. But you see, I'm going to keep it on the bounce. You know, this is for bounce, you know. Bounce, I'm going to explore other ways about safety and security, you know. K-Town is an avid listener, folks, by the way. Yes, K-Town, you are definitely going to be included in this podcast as per usual. So thank you for stopping by, and yeah, man, you know, as I'm looking at the fucking toilet that don't work with mad shit in it, mad piss in it, fucking rolled up, fucking blotched papers and shit thrown in there, fucking tissue, you know what I mean? All kinds of fucking napkins, from when they're serving their fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or their fucking hardcore ass cheese ass sandwiches and shit with their coffee tasting like tea and tea tasting like fucking coffee. God damn it, bro. I'm looking at the fucking wall next to this fucking toilet. I don't mind telling you. It's one of the most repugnant shits I ever saw in my goddamn life. You see remnants of where motherfuckers literally took their fingers and spread the shit all over the fucking wall. And it's so caked up and dried out on the shit that it became part of the wall. Fast forward. We make it to court. My lawyer says, you're good. All right? Just plead to this, $50 fine. I jumped on that real quick, you know. Gave them basically a third of my motherfucking salary that I earned for the night. Whatever. I guess it's just safe to say, ain't going back to El Vaqueron anymore. You know, had a little run over there, about a month or two, you know. Got along with everyone over there, but you see, you gotta keep it moving, right? Peace. Yeah, man. Good 18 minutes full of that passion, huh? Let me see. Vaqueron. That's not the actual place, a name of the place, but it's called, was it Vaquero? El Vaquero. It was called El Vaquero. Holy shit. I just call it Vaqueron just in case motherfuckers want to try and sue somebody. But lately also, I've been, like, not giving a fuck lately and naming names of clubs and shit. So, what the hell? Anybody here that got a story that they would like to share with me, yo, holla at me. You can ask me questions. You know, you could go to rgmc2407@gmail.com and drop me an email with questions or any ideas you might have for future shows of the podcast, Bounce. on ForceFed Digital. I also want you to check, and I also want you to check out my guys, ForceFed Digital's very own From Common Sense to Nonsense podcast. And check them out. They're funny as hell. Pure comedy, the way we all know and love it. Then we have shows like, damn, little hole in my shit. Fuck. Then we got from Kingsbridge Rich, My Bronx Story. Then you got Gas Logic and them on the show called Pinfalls Count Anywhere and Sports Not Fiction. So with all of those things being said, man, check out the ForceFed Digital Podcast Network. And don't forget to join the United Ronin Network so that you can get, right, the uncensored versions of the Bounce podcast and uncensored versions of all that I record here. And of course, you can check me out live. Live is going to be live, and that's open to the public. But then after a while, I will close it out, and this will only be included in the members only columns. So take full advantage now while all of this is open. Hey, man, for all of that, let me just say thank you all for coming by. I appreciate you. K-Town, Logic and Friends, 704 Liquor, House Talk Network. Big shout out to Lady J. Gould, who I'm about to use one of her tracks to open up one of my omnibuses coming soon. I'm gonna start working on Whoreson. But before I do that, I'm working on a couple of chapters of Love After Midnight, and if you want to check that out, you can join the channel. I got stylized versions of chapter 1 on the members only column. All right, the censored version is on the banned episodes tier, and the original TV-14 version will be on the Ronin Gang. So if you would like to be so kind and, look out for the brother as he does his channel, you know what I'm saying? It's like my only income when it comes to what I'm doing. Facts. Feel me? Everything else is fucking paying everything else and shit. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I need all the help I could get. Trust me when I tell you. So with all of those things being said, y'all, please be so kind to rewind and look at this from minute 1. Look at all the videos. I got 500 plus. Check me out, y'all. And thank you to the 10,000, actually 12,000 plus subscribers we got going on the channel. I love you all like cooked food. Now then, let me just take another moment to remind you to love somebody while you're still here. Life is too goddamn short. If your mothers are still here, please give her a call. All right? Your dads and all of them, if they ain't too busy, give them a call. Right? Hug the loved one today. Word. I mean this. Because you just never know, That's why I am very thankful for routine. And with all those things said, ladies and gentlemen, stay sexy. It becomes you. And I will see you all on the next edition of Ralph Reads Raw. Don't forget to tell a friend to tune in to TURN, the United Ronin Networks. Once again, let me say, stay sexy and remain that way. Peace.